So I'm embarrassed to tell you that I didn't have a relationship with someone with a different skin color from me until my mid-20s. I didn't set it out to do it that way. I grew up in this lily white suburb and went to a white high school, literally entire high school white. And then I went to college in Minnesota. Blonde hair, blue-eyed Minnesota, right? But I did play basketball in high school and in college. And on my high school team, we were all white, because my high school was all white. And in my college team, we were all white except one young man who came from Worcester, Massachusetts. His name was Roy. We had one African-American young man on our basketball team. I knew him a little bit, but we weren't very close. And so I found myself in my mid-20s never really having a relationship with anyone with a different skin color than me. It's stunning, isn't it? Some of you have experienced a very similar thing. When I was in seminary, I started playing in some church league basketball leagues. And it was kind of fun because they were mostly 40, 45-year-old white guys. And I was a 24-year-old white guy. And yeah, it was fun. Until Roy showed up. Until Mo showed up. Mo, his name was Maurice, came as a ringer on one of the other teams. He was 6'8" tall. And he was one of the best high school basketball players in Wisconsin State history. He was an African-American guy. And so I got to guard him every game. It was no fun at all. But after the games, we would sit against the gym wall, just sweating like crazy. And I'd say, "Tell me about yourself." And he'd say, "Tell me about yourself." And we became friends, and we started spending tons of time together. And he allowed me to see the world through his eyes. And he helped me big time. We had a team from our church that would go into prisons, and we would play the prison team, and then we would share Christ with them and have conversations. And I asked Mo if he'd like to join our team, and he's like, "Well, sure, yeah, that'd be fun. I'd love to do that." And we went into this big maximum security prison in Wisconsin, and as we're walking in, the crowd was all there ready to watch our game, and they saw Mo, and they went nuts. And I said, "Wow, Mo, I know you're a legend in Texas high school basketball, but this is kind of wild." And he said, "Well, Pete, I've got a lot of friends in here." And he said, "In fact, a lot of these young men grew up in my neighborhood." He said, "I'm going to be talking a long time after the game." And we were there for hours as he just talked to one guy after another, after another, after another. And as we're driving home, about a 2-hour drive, I said, "Mo, tell me about what it was like growing up for you." You grew up about 22 minutes from where I grew up. We actually played against each other in high school. Tell me about where you grew up. Tell me what it was like. Tell me what it's like for young men growing up in that community. And opened my eyes to a whole different world, 20 minutes away from where I grew up. About a year later, his wife decided to leave him. He was married to a white woman. He said, "Pete, help me save my marriage." And he just did everything in his power to rescue this broken marriage, and she had nothing to do with it. She wouldn't even talk to him. It was gone. I went to court with him the day that his divorce was finalized. He's like, "Pete, keep praying. You never know. It's never over till it's over." That day it was over. And here's what I observed. Every person we came in contact with in that court system that day, they looked at him and they assumed it was his fault. They assumed it. I'm like, "Well, what's going on here?" He goes, "Pete, I deal with this all the time. It's the way life is for me." And my eyes were open. And I learned to love him.